Hello, it's Julie from Clever Poppy here. I'm so looking forward to teaching you how to make one of these beautiful large-scale woven wall hangings in the rainbow style. First of all, you're going to need a piece of rug canvas. It's also known as latch hook mat or rug mat. You'll need 6 or so colours of beautiful wool roving. That's the thick, luscious wool. And then choose an about 8-ply wool to match each one. You're going to also need quite a bit of white or cream wool roving. That's for the background. You'll also need string, some nice sharp scissors, a pencil, a yarn needle, and a piece of dowel to hang it with. So guys, before we start, the biggest tip I have is don't be a perfectionist. It's all about the beautiful organic style that you need to embrace. As long as you take a step back and love it, that's the main thing. So first of all, draw the rainbow, pop a piece of card underneath, use your pencil to draw the inner and outer arcs of the rainbow, and you can use the grid and the squares to count to make sure it's nice and centered. Cut a piece of wool roving, and I normally divide it into 2 or 3 strands so that it's easier to work with, about 20 centimeters long. And then you can start weaving. So the biggest tip I have with the weaving side of things is to twirl the ends of the wool roving. This makes it easier to poke through the small holes in the rug mat. So following the curve that you've drawn, you're going to weave right around the arc of the rainbow. Keep weaving until you've done the full arc, and then just turn around and come back the other way. I normally do about 2 rows per colour, so start with a new colour once you're there in this square that's directly beside where you finished off, and just keep doing that until you have that beautiful colourful rainbow ready to go. So it does make a really big difference using better quality wool roving. It's easier to work with. It also helps with the twirling that I've talked about, and also just check underneath if it's snagging at all. And guys, don't worry if it goes a little bit fuzzy, that's going to happen, and that is just part of the look. Now that the rainbow is nearly done, we're going to think about the background. So the first step is to basically fill in the border with white. The rug mat can tend to come apart a little bit on the sides if you're working with it a lot. So what I do is very first of all go right around the border to keep it nice and securely in place. So you're just basically looping up and around the border with the wool roving. So go right up the side, across the top, and then down the other side. At the corners, you'll just need to do a few extra loops that you can kind of adjust so that it covers that corner piece. Keeps it looking nice and tidy. And make sure you leave a gap underneath the rainbow, because that's where the tassels will hang anyway. Once you've done the border, the next step is to fill in the rest of the background. So I tend to make the wool roving slightly thinner for this and go up and down every single square. It creates a really nice uniform look, which contrasts really well with the more thicker look of the rainbow in the arcs. So you might want to have your favorite show on TV while you do this. It can take a little while, or just enjoy being a bit mindful and zoning out. Also do the same background technique in the middle of the rainbow, and make sure you've done the border in that middle section too. Now that's all the weaving part done. So flip it over. We just want to tidy up the back so that it can hang as flat as possible on the wall. So what I do is I tie off the loose ends, and make sure you tie them away from the border so that they don't poke out when it's hanging. And then I just go around with my scissors and trim it as much as I can. You can do this on wool roving that hasn't been tied off. It tends to sit really well in the rug canvas anyway. Then pop it over and have a look at the beautiful creation you've already made. The next step is to add tassels. So what we do is we grab our wools in the corresponding colours. You make sets that are about 55 centimeters long, and you need about 5 or 6 strands per set. It will depend how thick your wool is. Grab your set, and the first thing we do is fold it in half, and then with the looped end, pop that through the hole that's directly under the wool roving, and then pull it straight up the square underneath with the looped end, and then through that loop pop the tail of what's going to be your tassel, pull it tight, and your tassel's done. Do 2 or 3 tassels under each section of colour just so that you fill in the space, and make sure you don't pull them too tight because it can warp the rug canvas slightly. I also put a second row of tassels right underneath to make them look lovely and thick. Once you've done all your tassels, lay them out so that they're not tangled, and then we're going to trim them off to the length you want. Make sure you don't trim them too short, they do tend to spring up a bit. You can always cut a few times, but you can't go back once you've cut them. And the next step is just to make the hanger. So grab some string, lay your dowel right across the top. I knot the string on the underside of the weaving, and then you're just going to grab your yarn needle and go up and over the dowel. That's going to secure it right along the top of the wall hanging, and you can actually pull the wall hanging up nicely to make it sit a bit straighter at this point, and then tie it off at the end on the other side again, and that will secure your dowel to the top of the wall hanging. So all you need to do now is the very last step is to make the piece that you will hang it with. Depending on the length you want, cut some more string and then simply double it over, tie it on one side and then tie it on the other side. Make sure you tie both sides so it doesn't ride in, and then trim it off and you are done and you're ready to hang this in your home. How amazing! You get a real sense of satisfaction, and I'm sure you'll become addicted to weaving like I have, and you can try lots of different styles. Make sure you visit my blog for more detail on this project, plus my suppliers and lots of other creative project ideas. Thank you.